So what next then in Donald Trump's ever-escalating war on tariffs against India? How should New Delhi now respond? My guest is from Washington, D.C., a special one. Harry Broadman is former chief of staff of George W. Bush's Council of Economic Advisors, also served in the Clinton administration as an assistant trade representative, knows a thing or two about trade talks. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Broadman. You're joining us at a time when every day there is an ever-escalating attack from the Trump administration. If not the president, then his trade advisor, Mr. Navarro, targeting India time and again. Make sense of this for us, because from an Indian perspective, all we are seeing is America playing the role of big bully and thereby appending 25 years of a relatively strong, stable relationship between the two democracies.
Well, India, unfortunately, is in good company because there are other countries that the president is being quite aggressive with, and I think the most important thing is to understand what his motives are, and for him to understand what your motives are. And I think these are two great democracies and very large countries. Obviously, India much larger than ours by population. It's a pity that things stand where they are, but my guess is that we will figure out a way of navigating this path together, because I think the U.S. needs India and India needs the U.S. This is always sometimes the case at the beginning of negotiations with Mr. Trump. I think when he finally sort of calms down and listens to what the proposals are back and forth, I think there probably will be a deal, but it's going to be rough going. But as I say, if there's any consolation, it's that he's been equally tough with other countries like India.
But Mr. Broadman, is there a rational explanation for what Donald Trump and Mr. Navarro are doing? Mr. Navarro in particular, very, very direct attacks on India day after day. I mean, is this some sort of arm twisting to get the two sides on the negotiating table, or is there something that now goes well beyond that, and can it be explained at all?
Again, you're not alone. I think I think don't get dismayed, and don't respond to his attacks, because then you're just feeding the beast. I think important trade relationship, and I think both sides with cool heads, will navigate this. I think as I say, this is part of Mr. Trump's way of doing business. I think I grew up in New York. I watched him as I grew up, so I'm used to seeing this kind of conduct, and I think cooler heads will prevail. I think we have a lot. The U.S. has a lot to gain by improving our trade relationship with India, just as India has a lot to gain improving its trade relationship with the U.S.
You're saying that cooler heads will prevail, but just look at the way Donald Trump is dealing with India, let's say, compared to a China. He's given enormous amount of flexibility to the Chinese during trade talks, given one extension after the other. He struck deals with the EU. With India, on the other hand, he seems to get up the rhetoric day after day. So could this spiral out of control, or do you remain quietly confident that eventually Mr. Trump will calm down and we'll have a trade deal by the end of the year?
Oh, I think there will be a deal, whether it's ultimately the kind of deal that Mr. Modi wants or the kind of deal that Mr. Trump wants. I think that's to be determined. But I think there's an expression: "Don't feed the beast." And Mr. Trump's, as I say, his conduct is to make it very personal. It's not just with respect to Mr. Modi, but other leaders. And I think don't take the bait in some sense. I do think he is reacting, to the recent meeting with Mr. Putin and Mr. Xi and others. I think that sort of riles him. But again, I think don't try to rise above that, as I think Mr. Moody is
But
capable of doing.
But with due respect, Mr. Broadman, why should the Prime Minister meeting Putin or Xi rile Mr. Trump? It was Mr. Trump, after all, who just a few days ago was meeting Mr. Putin for the Alaska summit. When we look at China, it's America's attitude replete with double standards. The fact is China is the biggest importer of Russian oil, and yet India gets singled out and is accused of fueling the Russian war machine. So are these double standards that we simply have to live with if the American president is going to tell us who we should meet and who we should not?
I think so, but again, I think Mr. Modi should keep his calm, which I think he has the capability of doing. It should have been no surprise to Mr. Trump or those of us in the U.S. who are quite familiar with India and China and Russia that this Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting involved them all. And again, I think if we can stick to the basics, both the U.S. and India, I think there is a deal to be done. One of the things that I think gets in his craw is the fact that we are running a trade deficit with India. Now, to an economist, the trade deficit is part of doing business. It just reveals comparative advantage between different countries on different goods and services. I'm not sure that Mr. Trump fully appreciates these, I wouldn't even call them subtleties, but stark reminders of the strength that India has in the world market. Mm-hmm. And I think, I suspect that when tempers calm down on Mr. Trump's side, we'll find a way through. You referenced his meeting with Mr. Putin in Alaska. I don't think that meeting went very well for Mr. Trump because he didn't get what he thought he was going to get. And there's obviously, as people know from reading the newspapers or watching TV about Mr. Trump's relationship with Mr. Putin, things are not as pretty as Mr. Trump sees in the beginning. And so again, if there's any consolation, India and Mr. Modi are not.
That's Harry Broadman there telling us stay calm is the best way to deal with Donald Trump.